afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Bank of North Dakota's Facebook Live, Ask Stacy and Amanda. It is so nice to be here again today. I am live with Chelsea Ewan. She is the communications coordinator from the Arts Partnership here in Fargo, and we've got some fun things to talk about today. Before we get into it, remember that if you've got questions, leave them down below. If you've got a direct message you want to send us, you can certainly send us a message and we can answer those later as well. If you feel so inclined to share, if you find this information useful, definitely share us, give us a like, all the fun stuff. So without further ado, let's visit with Chelsea today. So what we're going to be talking about is really transitioning from college into your career, which you've done recently. Well, it's been a few years,
yes,
but it's still pretty recent. So you graduated almost 3 years ago, correct?
Yes, I graduated from NDSU in spring 2016.
Okay, so coming up on right on the 3-year mark,
which
Perfect.
is crazy. It's gone so fast.
And it goes so, yeah. And you think when you're in college, you think college goes so quickly.
Yes.
But then once, or high school, number one, and then college, and then you get out and it's like, where did the time go,
Yep,
right?
exactly.
It's just incredible. So let's back up a little bit. So can you tell us a little bit about what you went to school for and
Sure.
then how you decided to go into that specifically?
Absolutely. So my degree is in strategic communication and international studies. I had a double major. I chose that degree because it's strategic communication basically is a sort of fancy word for PR and advertising. Mm-hmm. When I first started when I chose that degree at NDSU, it was called PR and advertising. But I was a 5-year college student. In my last year of college, they switched that to be strategic communication because now public relations and advertising are so integrated that they changed their class structure. But of course, since I had already started that program, I just finished up what classes I needed.
Yep.
But I went down the public relations track, and I chose that field because I really liked how versatile it can be. You know, communications is applicable for virtually any sector. Right now I'm in the nonprofit sector, but every business or organization needs someone to be communicating about them. Otherwise, how do people know what you do, right?
Yes, exactly.
So I like that it has versatility and that you can do a lot with it, and that for the most part, there's pretty good job security because it still takes a human to do communicating for the most part. So that's why I went into it. I also went into international studies as well, which was basically offered as a secondary major to globalize your first one. So I studied abroad for a semester, learned a language, and had just a little bit more of a rounded out experience for public relations. So that's why I went into it.
Very cool. And so you said, so from start to finish, it was 5 years, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. So within that time, tell me, did you have any internships while you were in school or work within the communication field to really start to get that industry experience to add to your resume, or what did that look like for you?
Yep. So at the time, my degree, you had to take at least one internship in order to graduate. I'm fairly certain it's still that same way through NDSU. But in order to graduate, we had to have 120 hours of intern experience.
Okay.
And during college, I didn't have an internship until my last semester, until spring 2016. I actually interned at the Arts Partnership where I'm working now. So fortunately, that was a huge foot in the door for me. And my boss, Dana Del Val, she's the president and CEO of the organization, she always kind of jokes. She's like, well, the fact that you had an internship is a large piece of why we hired you to be a communications coordinator, because you had already had your foot in the door, and I had already started kind of building some foundation and learning about the organization. So that internship was really valuable. But before then, I kind of mostly worked customer service type of job. I worked at the Hotel Donaldson in the hotel part. So that, that taught me about talking on the phone etiquette, and I responded to emails with that and was working with more face-to-face communication with that. So even though it may not be directly applicable to the job I have now, I still use those skills. So I think it was still applicable, but in terms of actual internship experience, that was with the Arts Partnership my last semester.
Sure. And we've talked a lot about, it doesn't necessarily matter the job title or whatnot, it's those skills, building upon things. So working in college, at the hotel, that certainly was building those skills to help you help you in your position after college. Now, I love that you did have an internship and that your internship turned into a full-time position too,
Yes,
because
which
we
is
hear
amazing.
that. We hear that so often, that that internship experience really opened up doors for people in order to have, it's a plus, a win-win for you and the employer, because the employer knows what a great hard worker you are, and then you're kind of dating each other. You're like, okay, yes, I love this organization and it works well for me. I'm building these skills. So internship is super important. I highly recommend that for any and all of you that are currently
huge.
in college.
I actually wish I would have done more internships, because I was working throughout college. It made it, I was working probably 15 to 20 hours a week with full-time college, 16 credits a semester. That's a lot for a college student, but that teaches you discipline. It teaches you time management. So that's always important. But I wish I would have tried to get it more involved with other like clubs, like PRSSA would have been really fun. Or
I was in that.
Yeah,
it was fun.
I wish I would have been part of it in college more. And now that I'm in my position, I'm part of the American Advertising Federation. I'm part of the Fargo-Moorhead Professional Communicators Club. I'm also part of the Young Professional Networks through the Chamber, and I'm enrolled in the Chamber Leadership Program with you. That's how we met. So it just I tell myself, okay, well, maybe you were working more and focusing on college, and maybe you weren't as involved as you like to been in college, but that's not the end all. College isn't. That's really where your career starts, and you will always be a life learner, no matter how far after graduation. You will always be learning in your career. That's one thing that I always tell people is, just because you've graduated college, you will be nowhere near expected to know everything. You feel that pressure sometimes right when you graduate. You're like, okay, I have all these skills and I'm ready to go, but you get to your first job and you're like, okay, now I have to learn how to do this, how to be a professional rather than a student.
Yep, exactly. And it can be overwhelming, but just, when you talked about you haven't talked about it yet specifically on camera, so let's talk about that next.
Sure.
Okay, so
we were chatting before.
So let's fast forward a little bit here. Okay, so when you're in graduation, so you had your internship. How did you start the job hunting process? Were you looking at different positions as well, or did you know you had this job secured after college?
Not right away, no. It was kind of serendipitous, but I ended my internship with the Arts Partnership in May of 2016, right before I graduated. I got all my credits that I needed. And then that whole summer I was looking for jobs, just seeing what was out there, and that process, especially right when you're fresh out of college, is extremely difficult. It's and those of you who have already graduated college and are working as well, you know that it's not just going to come to me. You don't just magically have a job. You have to get out there, you have to network, you have to meet people, you have to really research a lot, and just knowing where to look for jobs is really hard. So I had been applying to some positions here in Fargo that were communications related, and you get so discouraged looking at the job descriptions, because it's like, oh well, I don't quite have 2 years of work experience. I'm a college student. I just graduated college rather, and I don't have this job experience. So that part is really hard. And I was kind of getting a little down and out about it, and even it was like 2 months of looking. Like really, it takes a while sometimes. And that's something that I learned. But my predecessor, the former communications coordinator at the Arts Partnership, she was my mentor during my internship. She got a job elsewhere, and so my now boss calls me and says, hey, will you come in and just do some part-time work for us, keep this communications piece afloat for us while we look for a communications coordinator? And I said, sure, yep, that sounds great, happy to do that.
Because you still hadn't had a full-time job at this point,
No,
right?
I was still working at the Hotel Donaldson at that time, because, gotta pay the bills. But I was still job searching and probably working 15 hours a week for them, mostly running the blog, running the newsletter on our website. And then I had done that for a couple months, and my colleagues encouraged me to apply for the position. And of course, I'm like, I read the job description. I don't have 5 years experience. But because of the internship and because I had already started to work with me, and because I had been working a little bit of part-time, I've kind of been working my way up, if you will.
Yeah.
So that worked out really nicely when they offered me the job. My boss loves to tell the story of when she offered it to me. I was so excited that she's like, I want to offer you the position. And I said, really? And it was right before my birthday too, so it was the best birthday.
Happy birthday to
yeah.
you, right?
But yeah, I mean that's how it worked out for me, and that I know that is extremely lucky, and that is not how it always goes. But that just drives home the fact that internships are really crucial.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So when you started your career with the Arts Partnership, what do you think was the hardest part about transitioning from the internship piece and then the working part-time, jumping in full-time? You know, you're a full-time career woman now. It's not college anymore. It's not an internship. What was the most difficult piece of that?
For me, it was the fact that I wasn't being graded anymore. I was still trying to work for an A for something that doesn't have grades. I wanted all my stories to be perfect. I wanted everything to just be lined up and all, you know, tied up with a bow, but that's not how professional life is. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's about the fact that something gets done versus it being completely perfect, right? Like, you know, of course, with communications, I'm still got to be worried about typos and grammar and all of that, those important things. But, you know, in content-wise, I just had to learn that I'm not going to have those skills right away. I wanted to just be good at something all of a sudden, but that's not how it works. You've got to work your way through, and I've grown so much in the last 2 years in my position. If I look back, and even reading stories that I wrote right when I started, I'm like, oh wow. And I mean, you're constantly improving, right?
Yep.
But it's just interesting to look back 2 years from now and see how I've grown.
Ever changing, ever evolving, and I'm sure you'll have the same thing looking 2 years.
I know.
Ahead,
now I'm like, okay, well, you know, what's next? How do I continue to improve myself as a professional?
Grow. Yeah, absolutely. So, what do you think is the funnest part? You know, once you transition from that college life into your career, what's the funnest part, do you think, having a career versus being in college?
Well, it's nice to be getting paid. That's nice, right? To have a job and just, you know, be paid for all the writing you do, right? And communications for the major itself, it's a lot of writing papers, and I'm still writing a lot now, but I'm getting paid for it rather than paying for it, right? That is nice, but I really like being in the professional sphere now because I just have more liberty to just kind of call the shots in my life. I mean, with college, you're sort of, it's sort of rigorous. It's sort of on routine. Like, this is what you have to do. This is how you have to do it. But being in the professional sphere now, it's so open, which is almost overwhelming in itself sometimes too. It's like there's a lot that I could do in the future, and I'll continue to evolve. But I think that's the most fun, is just the ever-present potential and possibility of what I could do, and the possibility of improving myself even more.
Exciting. That's fun, and that's something that you'll be able to. And this keeps coming back. The theme keeps coming back. You can evolve, and right now the direction, the trajectory your career is at any time, you know, you might take a different fork in the road, and it can lead to something else. But it's those skills that you're continuing to build upon what you learned in college and within your career too. So I guess before we leave, do you have any final tips for those students that are transitioning from college into their career? You know, we're in the home stretch for those graduating in spring 2019 here. We're in that home stretch.
You'll get through it. You can do it. It's okay. You just get so kind of in that senior slump sometimes. You're like, okay, just got to get through it. I know how that is, and it all passes, and you will get your degree. But advice that I would give to soon-to-be graduates is start going to networking events now, especially if you plan to stay in the area. All the organizations I'm with, like Young Professional Network, for example, through the Chamber, that's a great way to network with professionals in the community. I enjoy going to American Advertising Federation. If you're in that type of marketing or advertising or PR type of field, that's a great way to get involved. Also, just see what kind of networking opportunities are out there for you. And really, when you go to those, you think of networking as, I need to get as many business cards as I need. That's really not what it's about. It's about building those relationships and just introducing yourself to someone and say, hey, who are you? Tell me about yourself. And you let that relationship sort of organically start to form. Yep. And for me, I always think, if I'm going to a networking event, all right, I'm going to at least try to walk away with one person that I know, now if I see them again, I'll remember their name, I'll remember their dog's name or their kid's name or whatever.
Something about them.
Something
right?
about them.
Yep.
And then that's a piece of information that you store away. And then when you see them again, you store away a little bit more information. And soon you just start to have this relationship with someone and you see them in public or whatever. And you're like, hey, and you feel like friends. So I say focus more on the quality versus quantity of the relationships you build when you go to networking events. That's a big piece.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good. And those networking events, you'll never know, they can always lead to different job opportunities or career opportunities.
It's about staying, sorry to interrupt, it's about staying top of mind, really. When you have your face out there, when you're shaking hands and you are meeting new people from all types of sectors, they may have a job opening at some point and think of you because they met you at a networking event.
Yeah, absolutely. Or there could be partnership opportunities between them and your current employer too.
Exactly.
So lots of great things.
Absolutely.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much, Chelsea, for taking some time out of your day today to
Absolutely.
help us with these tips. And I hope all of you found this very informational. If I haven't seen any comments or questions roll in, but if you've got specific questions, certainly leave them down below. And we hope you all have a fantastic day. Next week, Amanda is going to be coming on Facebook Live. She's going to be talking about really dealing with the winter blues, which who all here is kind of like sick of winter?
February is rough, guys.
Negative,
we'll get through it.
Yes. I was saying to Chelsea when she came, it's like feels like -20. It's a heat wave right now here in North Dakota. So, anywho, everyone have a fantastic week. I will see you in a few weeks. Amanda will visit with y'all next week. And thank you, Chelsea.
Thank you.
Okay, bye everyone.